Hey everyone, I hope that you're doing well. The reason for this video today is clear in the title of it. I'm going to get straight to the point and tell you about the few dreams that I've had over the past couple of years while everything has been happening in my life. And I don't know if you're going to have the video available by the time you are watching this one to actually check out. But there's another video that I'm still working on for my testimony and how Jesus basically brought me back to him. All right, now the first dream is about me and my cousin, and we were in this ballroom, and everybody was just socializing. It was a massive room. It was filled with people. Everybody was wearing nice tuxedos, beautiful dresses, high heels. Everybody's hair was looking perfect. And on one side of the wall, there were three massive windows that went from ceiling down to the ground. And on the opposite side was the bar that stretched pretty far. And it had a couple, maybe 3 steps to go up to it that were higher, of course, than the rest of the ballroom. I mean, my cousin were standing on that last step right by the bar. And we were waiting on the drink, or we were just drinking but not mingling with everybody else. But as I was turning my face around and looking at everybody in that ballroom, I see a guy looking out the window, and then he turns around. He looked very fearful, and he screams. He's trying to warn everybody, saying, "Look out, he's coming." And my cousin and I look at each other like, who's coming? What is he talking about? Who's this crazy guy? And so he says it again. He's like, "Look out, he's coming. Lower your heads." And that was even more weird than the first statement. And we kept looking at each other, and everybody, literally everybody, just tried to hide their head and just go down and do as the guy said. And my cousin and I were still looking at each other like, what the hell is going on? So as soon as everybody puts their heads down and my cousin and I still looking at each other, a massive white light comes shining through all 3 windows, and it was so bright that literally nobody could see anything else at that point. Everything turned white, and all you could hear is this deep voice. And I can't remember exactly the words. I can't quote them verbatim, but talked about 2 things. The main ideas were that the people that had not used the heads that were given to them will lose them, and the people whose feet had not been planted in the truth, had not been grounded in truth, will lose them either. And the light disappeared, and after the light disappeared, everybody was still in the room, except all those bodies that were on the dance floor were still going in that same direction they were walking in before the light came, but without any feet and without any heads. So all the bodies were decapitated and had no feet anymore, and they were just floating in space. And it was such an eerie scene. And the dream ended there. Now that was the first dream. Now I had a dream where my brother and I, well, first of all, I was traveling. I was going to Lebanon, and it was a dream that I needed as a confirmation that I should go back to my home country. I was traveling there, and the Chicago airport was honestly extremely futuristic. It was no longer called the Chicago airport. I could not find it on Google Maps. Somebody had to point the way. And when I got there, it looked like we were pushed 500 years into the future. It was that futuristic. And maybe 1,000, quite honestly. Like, the architecture was just like nothing I've ever seen before. The lights, the architecture, it just, the whole thing, it didn't seem like it was the general structure of an airport. It didn't feel like it was common or or anything standard that we have these days. But anyway, then all of a sudden, I'm in this gigantic field with my older brother, and everybody was in that field. Like, I could not see the end of the field. It was just so massive, and it was filled with people, and it was towards the evening. It had turned night, and people were just standing there socializing, and me and my brother were sitting side by side on a bench. And I looked up at the sky, and a third, if not half, of the white stars that were in the sky had turned into either a red or a blue color. And not only did they change colors, those red and blue stars started fighting each other. Now, they were still the same size as they were before when they were stars, except they were flying and doing maneuvers in the sky, and they were acting as if they were war spaceships, and they were shooting at each other and just really battling one another. And the whole world was just looking up, watching that event. Everybody was looking up and watching it, and it wasn't until towards the end of the battle that my brother told me to take my phone and to record what was happening in the sky. I had a dream that I was visiting this clinic. I don't know what kind of clinic it was, but I had gone there 3 times. And the first couple of times, I had hit it off with the receptionist and we became friends. And the third time, I was there, and the receptionist had something to do, but she couldn't do it or something along those lines, and she asked if I wanted to help, and I said yeah. Or she asked who is able to prepare a list of things to do before one dies, and I said I can. And she gave me that list, and so I think I was hired. I don't know, but it felt like I found an occupation. And I started writing this list down and working, and then a doctor comes out of the room, and he looks at me, and he was surprised that I was there, and apparently we knew each other. I don't have no idea who that is, or can't relate them to anybody in my life, but we knew each other, and he was happy and surprised that I was there and that I was working on that. And that was the third dream. Everybody was standing on the streets underneath, well, the setting was kind of underneath the bridge, but it was on a street that was right next to a bridge. And everybody was standing there, and everybody was watching this massive airplane. And I think it was Lufthansa, I'm not sure, but it had a symbol of this bird that delivered babies. Everybody was watching the airplane. It was coming down like this, and then all of a sudden it flips over, and then it completely goes on its back, and it crashes. Now, as people were watching this, they knew that they had to take cover, and so everybody tried to hide behind a wall or underneath, or like to crouch, or to get under some sort of whatever concrete structure that would diminish or absorb the blast or the pressure from the blast. But literally nobody felt anything, and although there was a blast and there was a crash and there was a big fire and there was a big boom, there was no pressure that came out of that. And so everybody was surprised. I'm like, how did that happen? And nobody felt anything, but we all saw it, and we were all so close to it. Now, when that airplane fell and crashed, it caught on fire. And the only thing that was on that airplane, everybody finds out that the only thing that was on there was a baby. And that baby had survived the crash, it had survived the fire, intact, completely intact. And the person that took that baby out of the airplane grabbed it by the ankle and held it up, and the baby's head was down here, and so it was upside down. And that baby was basically indestructible. And that was the dream. Now, in that same night, while I was dreaming, right after that dream, there was a setting, the dreams changed settings, and I was driving this child around, right? I was driving a car, and he was sitting in the back seat, and he had requested for me to play Beautiful Liar by Shakira and Beyonce. And I thought that that was a very interesting selection of song in that dream, or to follow that dream exactly. Now, the fifth dream was about a team of people, or a team of beings that were humanoids, that would travel dimensions. Now, while they were traveling dimensions, their bodies remained in the original dimension, except they would be astral projecting, but astral projecting in a sense where their consciousness, or whatever, their soul, or whatever you call it, in that new dimension would manifest physically, I guess. And so every dimension that they had visited, they were there to wake up the dead and vanquish them, which is very odd. And I won't forget this one scene, or this one image from that dream, where that team was walking together as a unit, and there was a floating coffin that they were like dragging, kind of like a balloon with them. Yeah, and these have been some of the dreams that I've had over the last couple years, I would say. I thought that this is a great time, or that it's about time that I share these dreams with you. Good luck, everybody. Please ask for healing. Please ask for your hearts to be renovated and replenished with love. Please ask for forgiveness, first and foremost, of course, but fight the good fight. Every effort that you have should be put towards being better or preparing for what's coming. And He will help you. If you have the intention, if you have the willingness, He will assist. I quit smoking weed that I smoked on a daily basis for more than 7 years. I quit smoking cigarettes that I've smoked since I was 16. I have quit masturbating, and it's been about 6 months or more. I quit watching porn. I quit so many things that I should not be disclosing right here, right now. But I am no longer addicted to a lot of things that were really controlling my life, that were my masters rather than the Lord Himself. I'm still struggling with a lot of things, and I'm still tempted every single day to go back to them. But it's saying no, because He deserves that you struggle for Him and that you say no for His sake. And that's what's keeping me afloat. That's what matters. Fighting the good fight, struggling for the right reasons, accepting that that I deprive myself of earthly pleasures so that He can exist in my heart, so that He can take me with Him once He comes back, so that I'm not left behind and destroyed. I don't want to be in the highest place in the heavens, but I do not want to cease to exist. I do want to find God once I die. And God bless you all. And good luck with everything. And please stay strong, and please pray as much as possible. And one advice that I have about praying or putting God in your life, you have to recognize that it's a relationship with, it's bad to call Him someone, but someone who will not leave your side. And by that I mean that you cannot hide from Him. You can't be away from Him. You can't be in a setting where He's not there. And He created this life for you to share it with him. And if we're not sharing all of it with him, then we're doing him injustice. To think that we can go to church or to his house once a week, that's if we go and if we're not distracted while we're there, and if you know the rest. But that's not enough. Talk to him. Share the good news with him when you're happy. Share the bad news with him when you're not. Read his word. Ask him to guide you. Ask him to teach you. Ask him to heal you. He will do all these things. If you can imagine the most loving parent, he is 1,000,000 times fold that. And none of us deserve his love. But he still loves us. And he's still giving us time. And he's still lowering his standard so that more of us can survive what's coming. Thank you so much for listening. God bless.